Wait a minute. Are you saying I can borrow a third of your cultivation power without any obstacles? Then suppose if all 4 members of your family were inside me and the control was in my hands. Could I borrow a third of each of your strengths? If that's possible, imagine if I let 100 ghost souls possess me, or even more than that. Just how powerful could I become? I spoke these words to Than Quyen Nhi, feeling my heart surge with excitement as if I was about to take flight. But she quickly poured cold water on my ambitions. Fuang, do you really dare to think of such things? In theory, yes, it might be possible. But your soul cultivation and physical constitution aren't nearly enough. From what I can see, in your current state, you could at most allow 3 ghost souls to possess you at once, and even then, you'd only be able to borrow a limited amount from each. Also, it's only because our family's spiritual strength is weak that you're able to borrow as much as a third. If we were stronger, you'd only be able to take a fifth or even less. Do you understand what I mean? The increase from borrowing ghost power is already extremely high. If you add another increment at the same time, your soul would be damaged, your internal organs would shatter, and in the worst case, you'd die. Her words struck me like a bucket of icy water, freezing my boiling excitement in an instant. So you're saying, in theory, if my soul and body grow stronger, I could break the limits you mentioned. That means, eventually, I'll be able to carry 100 ghosts with me, borrowing their cultivation without any harm. Just imagine, when that day comes, I'll be unstoppable. I couldn't help but insist, even though I knew she was right. Heh, such grand ideals you have. Keep it up, Than Quyen Nhi said, her tone flat and insincere. It made me want to snap back at her, but I held my tongue. After talking with Than Quyen Nhi, I realized there might be a shortcut to quickly boost my strength. That gave me new confidence in facing the ominous burial curse. Half an hour later, after walking briskly on my own 2 feet, I finally arrived at the foot of Lai Mountain. My pace was only a little slower than a horse-drawn carriage. Who would have thought I could move this quickly? All thanks to borrowing a third of Than Quyen Nhi's strength, I wasn't even out of breath. I felt as if my body was becoming as tough as iron, but I knew it was an illusion. Once she left my body, I'd be back to my old self. Fuang, from here on, you must be 10,000 times more cautious. I've never entered Li Mountain before, and the suppression here is terrifying. There are things in these mountains that are extremely dangerous. We're only here to find my mother. Once we do, we leave immediately. Don't ever try to confront those horrors, or you'll be killed, Than Quyen Nhi warned, her voice trembling. It was clear Lai Mountain was a nightmare for ghosts and spirits. So, you're really scared of this place? Funny, when your whole family tried to frighten me before, you all acted like you were unrivaled. Turns out, you're just paper tigers, I thought to myself, unable to resist teasing her. She shot back, "Is this revenge for earlier? You're such a petty man." I only chuckled, dropping the subject. There was no need to kick her when she was already anxious just from approaching Lai Mountain. The Than family's 4 ghosts had become vengeful spirits instead of reincarnating in the underworld. It was clear they had died unjustly. Now that we were allies, there was no point in provoking her further. Taking a deep breath, I gripped the peachwood sword at my waist, raised a talisman with its tip, and cautiously stepped forward. Immediately, the wind turned cold and began to swirl, the air thick with the stench of decay. This was nothing like my childhood memories of Lai Mountain. Back then, my foster parents would take me here to gather firewood and wild herbs, but that was always in broad daylight. This was my first time entering the mountain alone at night. Even at age 4, when my soul left my body, I never dared approach Lai Mountain. So, venturing in at night was both terrifying and strangely thrilling. My nerves were on edge. The fog inside Lai Mountain was thin, but my vision had improved, likely because I was borrowing Than Quyen Nhi's power. Even in the darkness, I could see far ahead. But sometimes, not seeing clearly is a blessing. Now, with my vision sharpened, my scalp tingled. Not far ahead, crouched in the bushes, was a dark figure. It moved like a worm, writhing in the undergrowth. Suddenly, it raised its head, revealing a face with only half of it remaining. Cold sweat soaked my clothes. I pretended not to see it, forcing myself to shift my gaze elsewhere, though my heart pounded like a drum. The half-faced corpse lowered itself again, sliding swiftly through the bushes and disappearing from view within 10 seconds. I wiped the sweat from my brow and continued forward, slow and steady. Honestly, before entering the mountain, I'd been on the lookout for the white-robed ghost woman with long black hair. I hadn't seen her yet, but I guessed she was already inside Lai Mountain. With no other choice, I pressed on. Was Then Queen Yi's mother really here? We could only guess. The Then family ghosts had searched everywhere else with no luck, leaving me no option but to search Lai Mountain myself. The odds were slim, but I had to try. If I succeeded, I'd have a whole ghost family as my allies, a powerful advantage in dealing with the burial curse. I encouraged myself and kept moving, treading lightly, praying I could quickly find my target. I didn't want to linger in this haunted place a moment longer than necessary. Suddenly, Then Queen Yi's warning echoed in my mind. Be careful, there's something up ahead. Startled, I kept walking, asking quietly, where? 10 meters to your right, on a tree. There's a red-dressed, vengeful ghost. She's staring at us. Be careful, she feels very dangerous, she said, pointing out the spot. I casually shifted my body to the right, glancing out of the corner of my eye. My breath caught. 10 meters away stood an ancient tree. That wasn't the scary part. The real horror was the woman hanging from a noose on its branch. She wore a dark red robe, her neck twisted in the rope, body and long black hair swaying in the ghostly wind. Her jet black eyes stared straight at me from above. Death by hanging, a vengeful female ghost among the most dangerous of all. Damn! I cursed silently, struggling to suppress a scream, forcing myself to act natural as I walked on. Still, I watched her from the corner of my eye, terrified she'd lunge at me. I kept my pace steady, rounded a bend in the mountain path, and only then did I sigh with relief when the ghost didn't pursue me. Then Queen Yi, is that your mother? I asked, hoping to break the tension. My mother didn't hang herself. She was pushed off a subway platform and crushed by a train, she replied, her voice edged with sadness and anger. So it seemed the search had only just begun. And Lai Mountain, haunted by its restless dead, was far from finished with me.